Today we'll talk about shutter speed for vlogging, and I've got some experiment for you. Now, if you've ever watched video-centric vloggers online, you've probably had the advice: shoot your vlogs like a film crew would. Use all the bells and whistles you've got at your disposal. But here's the thing, most of the time that advice has little to do with how professional crew works on the set. And I am not just talking about the creative stuff like writing compelling scripts, telling great stories or making things visually appealing. This is similar in a way in both worlds. I am talking about basic hardware setup and why you don't need to blindly follow the advice you see floating around in internet online. In film industry, shutter speed is typically set to something called 180-degree rule. Sounds convoluted, but it's really pretty simple. All you do is double your frame rates per second, slap a 1/ in front of it, and boom, that's the shutter speed. For instance, if you are shooting your video with 25 frames per second, you just set your shutter speed to 150. People on YouTube love to say that movies are shot with 24 frames per second with 180-degree rule, so you should do it as well. Sounds logical, but here's where things start to crumble in vlogging scenario. To demonstrate, I'm going to do something a Rocky vlogger would do. In fact, I am doing it all the time. Move camera a lot, seriously. If you want your vlogs to look polished, you should aim for minimal movement. Stick to static framing as much as you can and study, for instance, how Casey Neistat did his shots. But hey, it's all part of the learning curve. Most people start with tons of movement before they realize the less is more. I did the same mistakes during my holiday trips when I've been just starting to be interested in video production. Of course, there are times when the movement is unavoidable, like for instance while fast traveling and when you are in constantly changing environment. So here I am moving the camera all over the place, and yeah, it probably looks pretty bad. Additionally, I am using an action camera, so it should look very bad. They are terrible in low light. Look closely though. What I want you to notice is the micro jitter caused by the stabilization algorithm. This one is added in post, but in-camera stabilization works the same way. Not everyone has the budget for a fancy GH7 with stabilized optics, and even then your raw footage will still have a lot of shake. Stabilization algorithms can smooth out some frame movement, but they cannot fix motion blur baked into your image because of the slow shutter speed. That's the real problem. In professional filmmaking, handheld shots are common, but they are often done with heavy rigged cameras. The sheer weight and inertia of those rigs naturally smooth out the movement. But with a mirrorless camera, forget it. Even with in-body stabilization, the results can be hit or miss. And here's the other issue: exposure. Let's say you are shooting outside in a bright daylight. With a slow shutter speed, you will quickly hit the minimum ISO on your camera, and even at f/16, your image can end up being overexposed. But of course, you don't want to shoot everything with f/16, because you lose that magical background blur. Obviously, you don't have magical background blur in my videos currently because I'm using action camera, but probably you can imagine that. So what do people recommend online to alleviate these problems? ND filters. Of course, something that you can buy probably using their affiliate links. They will tell you to slap one on your lens every time you step outside. When you are vlogging, your priority should be simplicity. You want your gear to be ready to shoot instantly. Anything that slows you down, like fiddling with ND filters, just creates unnecessary friction. To sum it all up, if you want smooth run and gun style videos, you've got two main options: stabilize it in post or use gimbal. But let's be real, gimbals are even worse than ND filters when it comes to convenience. If stabilization is handled by an algorithm, every single frame in your video needs to be sharp. I mean, no motion blur, or at least as little as possible. While it's impossible to eliminate blur completely, you can minimize it by cranking up the shutter speed. And you've seen the results already in the video. But of course, we've lost that cinematic motion blur. I will admit, for some people this look can be jarring and unappealing. That said, in vlogging it's not a deal breaker. Story and content always matter more than perfect visuals. Still, let's experiment a bit. On YouTube, everyone's pretending to be an expert at something, right? Video creators pretend they are filmmakers, hobbyist photographers pretend they are ready for pro photo gigs. Meanwhile, I'm over here pretending I'm not reading from a script. So let's lean into the spirit of pretending. Let's say this video was shot with a slow shutter speed. Here are two clips of me waving my hand. One has motion blur, the other doesn't. Now we need to mimic the effect from the second recording, so the first one looks similar. Let's see how close we can get. Okay, here we've got our recording and I've got a motion blur effect prepared already. As you can see, turning it on makes a lot of difference. The blurred hand looks somewhat similar but not identical. And really, there is no way that computational motion blur will look like real one, because the algorithm is not perfect. In DaVinci Resolve you've got a lot of parameters to tweak around and they are fairly easy to comprehend. The first one is just equality, faster or better, and obviously the better setting is better and the faster is faster. The next one is motion range, and it's all about the maximal motion range, and basically you can leave the highest setting all the time. Next one is blur direction. If you want to mimic real motion blur, you should use from previous frame. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't produce the best results, so you have to tweak a bit. I'm just sticking through the video and taking out some random frames and just decide on one or another. And of course, you've got the motion blur amount. For me, 60 hit the spot, but you have to choose it yourself. Here you can see that the optical flow is not perfect and two of my fingers are moving quite strangely. These errors will occur on smaller objects, which has inherent motion blur from the shutter speed. If you are pixel peeping, sometimes you can find problematic texture for optical flow, as here for instance, but you really won't notice it in normal playback. So this is all pretending that we've got proper motion blur, but for vlogging it's just enough. There is an elephant in the room that if you are using fast shutter speeds in manual mode, you are limited by your camera's low light capabilities. In such situations, just go back to slow shutter speed and limit your movement. It's just a one camera parameter change. If you stick to only two options for your shutter speed, it's easy to differentiate between them afterwards. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Every frame in your video is its own independent entity. If you are shooting at higher frame rate, say 50 frames per second, you've got double the frames to work with compared to 25 frames per second. In real-time playback you will use just every second frame, but having those extra frames opens up many possibilities for slow motion. With a faster shutter speed, you can create computationally generated slow motion more effectively because the frame generation algorithm has access to sharp, detailed images. With that and twice the frame rate number, you can push slow motion segments much further. Just bump up your recording to 50 frames per second at all times. Not only does this give you smoother slow motion, but can also improve optical flow computation for motion blur and temporal noise reduction algorithms, giving you better overall results. It's basically all. Thanks to this video, I know that I won't be a vlogger.